I was just concentrating on what you shared about at the kindergarten level, at age 5. So how are the teachers, if you are elected, is it a county-wide policy? Are you allowed to change teacher by teacher? No, I'm not going to include that in my curriculum. Or how is that actually going to take place?
So I think one of the biggest levers that the superintendent of the county has is there's something called LCAP funds, Local Control Accountability Plan. And these funds are supposed to be used for foster youth, English language learners, and socioeconomically disadvantaged children. And those are the funds the superintendent signs off on those funds without any oversight from the board. She has sole authority to sign off. I'm not sure the percentage of the budget, but it's millions of dollars. And those are the funds that they're using to hire nonprofits and consultants. And the monies are not going to the students. And when I was at McKinley, I was wondering, why are these kids not advancing in their English language? Like what? I could see a lot of chaos. I could see a lot of inconsistency in curriculum, a turnover of teachers, a turnover of programs. You can't gain any traction, and kids are not going to learn under that. And one of the biggest things I saw was how they were, when parents would fill out a form and they checked a certain box, kids would get slotted in English language learner category and they couldn't get out. And what I realized is the more English language learners they have, the more money they get. And the more money they give, not to the kids, to the consultants and to the nonprofits. And if you follow this at all, the most recent thing that you would see is this contract that they made in March. And they were talking about the racial incidents, and we had about 12 of them when they started counting over the last 2 months. And to solve the quote unquote racial problem that they were having, and of course they never give any details about the incidents. They try to make it seem like a white versus person of color incident, but you know, there was an incident at Santa Barbara Junior High where 3 boys jumped on another boy and put their knee on his neck, and they were trying to make him say George Floyd, but it was 3 Hispanics and a boy who's half white, half African American. That does not fit their narrative of racism, but they are going to call that a racial incident because their version is white versus person of color. And so to fix this problem, they hired a guy named James Joyce. He ran for mayor, and he started an LLC called Coffee with a Black Guy. He has no credentials to work with children, 0. And they hired him to come in and speak to these kids, and I'm not sure what being black has to do with talking to, 3 Hispanics and a half white, half black student, and their parents. And some of the parents said this is a total joke. They came to this seminar, and what the seminar is 3 90-minute sessions for $8,100 they're paying him. That's $1,800 per hour. And Bonnie Donovan of the News Press did an article about 3 Sundays ago, and she kind of laid it out for everybody. If we hired a black counselor, it would be $200 to $300 an hour, and they have credentials. If we hired a black attorney, that might be $500 or $600 an hour. If we hire a black arbitrator, that's maybe $1,000. If we hired a judge, that's $1,200 an hour. What are we doing paying James Joyce $1,800 an hour for nonsense? But that's what they're doing, and that's where the money's going. And so I would have the ability to not approve those monies be spent on anything other than those children, the children that need it. And that's just one thing. There's a lot of different things, but that happens to be one that is just, out of control.